So you've got this great idea. Maybe it's a hobby. You want to go into business. You're really excited. The big question is, will it be financially? We've got Brian King, who is a local business attorney for Augusta Business Daily, and I'm Neil Gordon. And Brian, are there any statistics out there for someone who's thinking about going into business?
There are, and they're actually, it's you've heard lots of statistics, but the most recent ones that I've seen say that approximately 20% of all businesses fail within the first 2 years,
Okay.
and nearly 50% fail in the first 5 years. And there's several reasons why companies fail, and I can go over a few of
Sure.
the main ones, but sometimes, people think they have a good idea, and it turns out they really don't have a good idea. And one of the things that I do with my clients is sit down with them, and we try to vet that idea before they spend a lot of money and heartbreak over their babies, so to speak, that
Sure.
they are, trying to bring to fruition. So, a lot of times people don't do, say, a pro forma projections, and they don't look at what are their costs going to be going forward. They just
Right.
they think about the revenue that they could be bringing in, but they don't think about the cost. And so that's a something I see a lot. And sometimes you talk about I sit down with the clients and talk about the competition that they're going to run into, and
Sure.
the other businesses that are doing the same thing, and how are they going to compete with these bigger companies in trying to take some of that market share.
It's funny you say that. I've noticed covering business stories that there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that want to clean your garbage can. Can you imagine that? I might who thought of that? I
Right.
mean, you figure you put your garbage in there and it's gone or whatever, but there must be a market because a lot of different people are in competition.
Yeah, well, time will tell, I guess, with that
Yeah.
one. I met that business owner as well. He's not one of my clients.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I kind of wondered about that one. So
Exactly.
Don't know all the ins and outs of what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
But,
So in this case, you would look at your competition
Mhm.
and maybe the number of customers that they might have.
yeah,
and
the market share that you
Mhm.
think that you could get over a certain period of time, and whether you
Gotcha.
could survive in terms of getting enough revenue in, enough customers, the customer
Right.
base to help your business survive. So,
Okay.
which brings me to another point, which is undercapitalization. A lot of businesses start out and they don't have enough money to survive. They've got some 401k money that they're using, or maybe a home equity loan or whatever, but then they run out of funding after a few months, and the business hasn't taken off as quickly as they thought it would, and so then they're left with they've already kind of depleted their funding. They can't get a loan or whatever, and so then they're out of business.
You're kind of
So-
in no man's land. Do you
Right.
keep going? Do you put good money after bad, or what have you?
Right,
And
right.
what are some of the hidden expenses that folks may not think about once they get into
Yeah.
business?
Well, one of the biggest costs for businesses is labor.
Mhm.
And you see it today in today's world where, even McDonald's is paying, $10 to $13 an hour, I believe,
Sure.
for people to work there. And so your cost of labor is one of your biggest costs. And you've got, all the benefits, employee benefits, health insurance, and you got the payroll taxes and all of that you've got to consider. And, it's one reason why McDonald's has moved to the kiosks, where you go in and you
Yes.
order through electronically and don't even really interact with the staff, because they don't have as many staff anymore. Let's see, another reason for business failures is because they lack the proper legal documents that they need. So,
Mhm.
in terms of, it goes anywhere from the very beginning, forming the company and not having the appropriate organizational documents, and the operating agreement that says how you're going to be interacting with your partner and all, which, I understand we're going to talk about a little bit today, all the way to the contracts that they have with their vendors and with their customers, and, potential lawsuits that may come about, that where if it's not outlined what the arrangement is, they can be sued and may have to pay damages for certain things. So.
We're continuing to speak with Brian King, and online it's businessattorneylaw.com. businessattorneylaw.com. Any other reasons why businesses fail or companies just don't make it after a period of time?
Well, I mean, kind of going back to one of the things we were talking about before about when you're vetting the business. I mean, we talked about the competition and then knowing the market, knowing who your customers are going to be. You're having a target audience that you're going to be marketing to, and being able to meet their needs. And if you can meet that demand, then you should be okay. And then, we talked about undercapitalization. Like sometimes companies try to grow too fast. Like maybe they have one location that's starting to do okay, and then they try to open up another location, but then maybe the economy turns down or something like COVID hits. Or
the owner can't be in two places at once.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
So you've got to have a really good manager to run the other location or to help you run both locations. And even though labor is your biggest cost, it's also one of your most important factors in running your business, because if you hire the wrong people, they can ruin your business.
True. And lastly, has anyone ever come into your office and they've come to you with an idea, and you've even to the detriment of your business, you've tried to talk them out of going into business?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I've done that a few times actually, and yeah, I mean, it would be easy for me to just say, okay, everything's going to be fine, and go ahead and prepare a bunch of documents for them and get paid for that. But if from the get-go we can tell there's a problem, and I ask them several questions and they really haven't thought about some of these things, what I'll do is I'll tell them, look, you need to go think about these things before we move forward, and you let me know whether we can address these things or not, how you're going to address these things before we start forming the company and before we start drafting these contracts. So
he's like a mechanic who gives you good advice and doesn't necessarily fix things that don't need to be fixed, which is very
right.
trustworthy of you, and very good to have as an attorney. And again, it's businessattorneylaw.com. J. Brian King, thank you so much for the knowledge.
Welcome.
And we just wanted to give a quick shout out to our friends David and Chris, and they are with Get Up Productions, and all of the social media information is up on the screen if you want to check out some other podcasts such as these that they are doing in case you have some interest.